This episode is powered by Act Now Education. Go to www.actnoweducation.com for free comprehensive educational resources and opportunities for active duty, veterans, military spouses, and children.
To transition to this new career, because I was feeling hopeless. I'm like, okay, are they not going to see my full potential? Like, I already have it. What do I need to do? So this certificate really bridged the gap for me to get into a job I didn't even know was my dream job.
Warriors, fall in. It's time for formation. Welcome to the Act Now and Execute Your Goals edition. Today I'm highlighting a member of the Act Now community who used the Act Now resources to level themselves up in their career. So let's meet who we have today. Today I'm joined with Sumeya Gibril, who is a military veteran. She served in the Army as a 92 Golf, which is culinary arts. We're going to learn how she used Act Now's resources to put her career through an advantage. What's interesting about her is that she is an immigrant to the United States. She speaks 4 different languages. So let's find out more about Sumeya. Welcome to the Morning Formation. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Great. And it's such an honor to have you on the podcast today. Sumeya, with you having moved to the United States at such a young age, would you mind talking to us? At what age did you move? And what was that transition like for you?
So I moved to the United States at age 11 and a half. I didn't speak any English. This culture was new. The people were new. I came from a country where I was the majority and kind of became a minority here in the U.S. It was a lot of culture shock. And then I started going middle school. And that within 6 months, I was able to learn English, like the basics, just to get by. And then I went to middle school, high school here, and first year of college after the semester is when I decided to join the Army.
So you started college, and then after that first semester, that's when you decided to join the Army.
Yes.
What prompted that decision?
So I remember when I was 11 years old on a prayer mat, things weren't going well. So I prayed and I told God all I wanted to be is like financially stable, and I want to be independent. I want to be able to live alone. So once I got to college, I saw how rough it was to be financially stable being a college student. So I decided to join the military for the financial stability. Then once I joined, it turned into more than that. Like, oh, I'm serving my country. I'm protecting the people. Like, so patriotism came through once I joined. I mean, I had it before, just the purpose.
No, I'm with you 150% on that. The whole reason I signed up and enlisted in the Army National Guard was to pay for college. I decided right around the time when I was in E4 in the National Guard, going into my junior year of college, that I would take it to the next level and become an officer. Again, that patriotism that was ingrained in me growing up and then going through basic training and AIT and the camaraderie and everything, that also sunk in with me as well and caused me to sign up for more years. So I certainly understand where you're coming from with that. Now, I also understand that you speak 4 different languages. That was something that you learned as you were growing up?
Yes. So my first language is Tigrinya. Second is Arabic, because I'm Muslim. We had to learn the Quran, our holy book, to read it and write in it. So they teach you. But speaking it, I used to watch a lot of Arab shows. So naturally, like I would watch it with subtitles and I started learning how to speak it. And then from there, I moved to Turkish shows. Like this happened in the US. The more I watched, the more I learned. And then one day I woke up and I started speaking Turkish and I understood them like 100%. And then English, of course, because I'm in America, I had to learn English. But in my home, it's a very like bilingual, trilingual home. So languages come really easy for me. And they've really helped me in my career. And they continue to do so.
That's pretty awesome. I know only very few people that speak that many languages, but you came to America speaking every language except for English. And then you had to learn this one sort of later on in life as your last language, right? Now, when you were in the military, I'm really surprised they didn't put you as some type of linguist or something, having that already under your belt. But where were you stationed at when you were in the Army?
I was in Camp Casey, Korea. And when I came back to the United States, I was in Fort Story, Virginia Beach. And before I would discharge, I was actually talking with the civil service to be, a linguist. But then my discharge paper came for medical retirement, for like PTSD. So since that didn't stop, I had to leave. And at the time, I was really, really disappointed because I was like, "Oh my God, the civil service wants me. Like, please stop this, medical discharge." But everything works out how it's meant to be, not how exactly we planned.
Right. It's always important to pivot. And with you having your early life experience with your transition from East Africa to the United States, you had to learn early on how to deal with that cultural difference and the language barrier that was out there. So I'm sure you having the career pivot and the obstacles that are there because you're so resilient, just like you were growing up, right? So now I ran across a post that you put on the Act Now Education Facebook group, and you talked about how Act Now Education helped you out. But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you, what is your current position right now, job-wise?
Right now, I work for Descartes. It's a software solution company, and their customers are customs brokers, freight forwarders, and regular importers. So I'm using my previous experience with U.S. Customs on this new job. I'm a customer representative, nice. But they're expanding my role considering my background.
Okay. Fascinating. So your transition out of the military, now when did you get out?
I got out of the military in 2017.
Now, when you got out in 2017, what was your first career?
That's funny. When I got out, all I wanted was for things to be the same again before I left. So before I left for the military, I used to work for AutoZone. So the first thing I did was go apply for AutoZone, and then went back to school because the same thing I did. Try to get back with my old friends. Just, I wanted the familiarity. And then once I was in Nova studying, one of the VA counselor was like, "Hey, I know you wanted a government job. So there is this internship opportunity with U.S. Customs. Are you interested?" So I was like, yes. First, I was hesitant because the U.S. Customs on the news was not, didn't have the best reputation, but I was like, let me try it. And then once I got in with U.S. Customs, they turned out to be really nice. I was afraid of the racism or Islamophobia, but there was none of that. It was just like, "Oh, we're going to protect you, right?" There was no, at the office I was in, at least, there was no racism. They respected my faith. They allowed me to pray. They improved my knowledge and customs related. So it was a surprise, a good one. But it was, I had the opportunity to do internship with U.S. Customs, and that was all thanks to the military because I was a veteran intern.
I love people like yourself who actually take the time to understand things instead of just listening to others on what they think they are. And you actually you jumped into the paint and kind of understand the insides and outs of why customs works and why it's there and why it exists. So I love stuff like that because having been grown up in Hawaii, now living in LA, but having lived in rural Ohio part of my life, I kind of understand the way people think, the way people live culturally sometimes, hunting. Why is hunting such a big deal in the Midwest? I understand that there's a reason for that. I understand that, why people do things here in LA and people out there. So it's just one of those things where if we took the time to understand what things really were about and why they exist, then maybe we would have more understanding. And that's what I love about that story that he just mentioned right there, because a lot of folks don't really know what customs does.
And we have appreciation once we get to know things,
right,
instead of, listening to other people.
Oh, definitely. That's very well said. We definitely have an appreciation for things once we fully understand them. When you graduated, That was when your internship ended?
No. So for the internship, I was doing full-time internship, was 40 hours. Um, because after I applied, it took so long. By the time I was pregnant with my son for 6 months, and I was going to school full time. So I was still in Nova. Like I'm still continuing my education, but I was still like going to school, doing the internship full time, pregnant. So yeah, it was interesting. And then like
Yeah.
within 3 months, they were like, okay, you did a great job. We're going to transfer you into like become an employee. But of course, the government took longer. So within 10 months mark total, I was able to be a GS9 position within the U.S. Customs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so you decided to transition out of U.S. Customs. And why did you do that?
So I was with U.S. Customs for, including internship, for about 3 years and 7 months. I was going to ask for transfer to another department, like the trade office, but that I was really close, but it fell through, and I was really disappointed. But my mentor, Christina, I met through Act Now Education, referred me to ACP for mentorship, and I told them my background, and she's an exact match. She has a son. She's an immigrant. She's a director at her company, which, because that's what I want to be. I want to be, that kind of high level, like number one in the supply chain world, in competition with DHL and UPS. And she's very motivated and she works hard. So everything that I see myself in, she was right there. So they introduced me to her, and she became my mentor, and it was it was free too. So this person is a director of customer success in Descartes, and she's giving me like 1 hour a month. No, it was 1 hour a month to mentor me. So I told her about what was going on. She was like, she was like, what do you have going on right now? So I told her, well, right now I'm taking a supply chain course through Coursera, supply chain management. It's like 5 courses, I believe. And she was like, let me know when you finish that course. I did. And I told her, okay, I'm certified in supply chain management. Now what? She was like, your background in customs and the certification from Coursera that is also funded by Act Now Education for free. She was like, you'll be a great asset on my company. She was like, why don't you apply? So I go ahead and apply, and I hear back from them really fast. I go through a series of like rounds of interview. It was like 3 rounds. I was like, what is this? I felt like I was applying for a position, but it was just different people. They were trying to assess my knowledge. And they were like, oh, the last round, they're like, you're our top, what do you call it? Our top applicant. We'll get back to you this week. I don't want to be cocky, but I was like, I'm number one in this applicant, considering my background and the position. And they called me within the week, and they're like, yeah, we want you. When can you start? And then I started November 14th. I was really scared to leave the government because of the security. I was tenured. Like, I already finished my probation. It's really hard to get fired from the government. I'm a hard worker, but just kind of like the security, the security of the job. It's like, and everybody was like, you know how many people, because when I was deciding to leave, they're like, you know how many people would kill to have your job? Or like, you know how hard it is to get in the government? So there were a lot of people in my head, but it was like, I'm a person who jumps on the deep end. That's the best thing in life happened to me because I take risks. So I was like, well, I trust myself. I was like, I trust my mentor and I trust my work experience. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the government. I did. And day one at the company, I was like, I made the right decision. I love it here. They're very, very sweet, very nice, very flexible. They allow me to be creative. They give me the opportunity to be creative. And they value me here. I was like, oh my God, where you been all my life? It's just, they're amazing. I love it here. They're pretty great.
Sumi, I love your story there, because I always tell people this. I always tell people the best place to be career-wise, and the best place to be in life, is to be able to laterally transfer to another dream position or to a better position without taking too much of a pay dip or without having to lose your geographical location that you desire.
Yeah.
And it sounds like here you were happy in the government, but someone else presented a better opportunity for you. And it was all based off of the hard work and the education that you had given yourself over the years and taking advantage of the Act Now education resources out there. Because I heard you mention Coursera, which is one of our big components with Act Now education. We've had a lot of successful people within the military community get certified in a lot of different career fields these certifications have actually helped elevate them and help them move and laterally transfer, without taking that big pay dip that most other folks would have to suffer if they were to switch to a new career. And so would you mind telling us the many ways that you've utilized Act Now Education's resources presently and in the past?
So in the past was the supply chain management course. Having that certification helped me get the job that I have now, to kind of elevated my resume. And right now I'm working for the certificate called Digital Marketing and E-commerce. So the company that I'm working for right now, they have that too. They have a marketing department. So I was discussing with one of the employees about how I was giving them like my marketing ideas and how in my downtime I could help out, and they were open to it. And it just shows that I'm getting the certificate from Coursera. I finished like 3 certificates. I have 4 more to go within that same, subject, but they're giving me the experience within that company. And what I learned from Coursera, I was able to speak confidently with the marketing team. And it felt so good because I was speaking to them today. I felt really knowledgeable and I knew what I was talking about. It gave me confidence, a confidence boost. So it's continuing to help me. That's why with Coursera, at first it's free. Because at first I was like, do I have to pay? What do you mean all these courses are for free? They're like 3,000 or something courses, more than that. And they were like, no, it's free. So being able to take another certificate has been really good. And especially like with this digital marketing, it's not just with my job. It's, with my own like social media, because I'm a social media coordinator for my son's school. I volunteer. So that also helps me, like the best time to post, what the customers want, and just doing, market research. The certificate continues to help me like in my professional and personal life. So there's just so many things in Coursera that is offered by Act Now Education that I am so grateful for, that it's continuing to help me with my career.
I love what you mentioned about the value of the certifications, not just helping you with your career, but also helping you with your personal life. Is there anything else you think? Because a lot of times when I mention to people about the importance of certification, is there anything that you'd like to add to that as far as helping folks better understand how these certifications can be that foot in the door, can help you with the language that you would be speaking when you're sitting across from a recruiter, perhaps? Maybe go a tier into it, because I find a lot of people are still trying to figure out, like, what is the importance of certification? I have a degree, but the certifications can really set you apart. Would you agree with that?
Yes, because the career certifications that I'm doing is literally preparing you for the world, so it's just specifically for that department. So if I'm going to start with the supply chain, I had no idea what supply chain management. I did have some idea because I work with customs, but not in that kind of depth. So when I learned what supply chain management was, what warehousing was, I was able to, when I was doing the interview, I was able to explain myself better. And when I saw when I was learning the certification, I was like, oh, I was able to see, oh, I did this before, this type of work. For example, my parents, I grew up in a supply chain world. My parents have a store. They go to Turkey and Dubai and they ship goods and products. So I grew up in there, but I didn't know that was supply chain. So when I was taking the course, I was like, oh my God, I grew up in this world. So one of the examples I gave the interviewers were when they said, what's your experience with supply chain? That's why I started. I was like, I grew up in supply chain. And I had to explain the steps of how they have a store here. Then they go to another country and they're their own suppliers. And I had to explain like the steps, like they ship it, they use this department. It helped me articulate what I already knew. And it added, knowledge to kind of be like, oh, okay. So when I'm talking to people, I know what I'm talking about. And then with the digital marketing, like I said, I was talking to one of the employees at my company, and it's not just the certificate, but knowing what I was talking about digital marketing was impressive to them,
Right.
So, and they
Yeah.
were like, okay, so this person, because if people are going to give you opportunities, you have to be ready for that opportunity. So for me, being prepared, knowing what I'm talking about, having at least a background and telling them, hey, this is how I can make your marketing successful. So it's not just me telling them, oh, I know how to market your goods. It's also, I have knowledge from US Customs. Plus, I could use my marketing skills that I learned from my courses and certificates to increase exposure to this company.
Right.
So I'm thinking,
Yes. The
I care
effective.
about, I care about your company. And even though this is not within my job description, this is still what I learned and this is what I could provide in my downtime. So it does add value to you. You become a better asset to the company. And it's just when you're a competent person and people are seeking your advice and you're expert, it feels good. It's good to have that positive attention that will help you succeed in life, career. It's just, I generally improved my confidence and self-esteem having so much knowledge and being expert in my field.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I have an MBA in project management, and then I've also been certified through DOL Coach as a master project manager.
Wow.
And even though I don't necessarily work in project management, a lot of the components that go into project management help me with projects at my work be more efficient and be more effective. And I shouldn't say that I'm not a project manager. I feel like everybody's a project manager. They just don't know it. But my official title is not project manager. But like you mentioned earlier, my certifications have helped me professionally and personally on how I think about things to be more effective and more efficient. It sounds like that's how all these certifications have really helped you out. And I got to say, just learning so much about you during this interview, you are a very intelligent young lady. And it's refreshing to talk to folks like you, because I think that at the end of the day, you understand the value of education so much so that you've managed to level yourself up. Even when you weren't looking for a new opportunity, the opportunity found you, right?
Yes.
And so that's no better place to be. And that's why I have you on today, because I love your story and I love what you're about. And since you've been a part of Act Now Education, I understand that you've attended the orientations. Would you mind talking to the audience about the importance of attending the Act Now Education orientations?
Yes. Every time I attend, it's always something new. You learn so many resources about resumes, which helped me get this job because the resume, like Pure Post, which I got resources from them, helped me, tailor my resume without having to pay $200, which I used to do for someone to tailor my resume. And there's opportunities for like scholarships, and they give you links for that. And like there's IT opportunities. There's just so many new opportunities every time you show up. And most of the time they have like guest speakers that are expert in their field to explain to you the more opportunities to come to you. They always say, try not to drown in the sea of goodness. I don't know if I'm saying the quote correctly, but there's so much free resources. Sometimes I'm like, which one do I pick? And I had to be like, okay, yes, it's a lot of free resources, but just stick to one or two so that you're not drowning in those sea of goodness and you end up doing nothing. but it's just they offer it, and it reminded me that there's still good humans and that there's kindness in this world, because the board members, the mentors, they're just doing it for free. Because for me at the beginning, I was like skeptical. I was like, what do you mean for free? Who does that? Who gives up their time, their money? Like, I was like, I didn't understand. But seeing them was like, people do things, out of the goodness of their heart, and just kind of like restored my faith in humanity. But they have amazing resources, and you shouldn't miss those orientations. At least attend one, and you're going to be surprised in a good way.
I love how Jay, who's the founder of Act Now Education and the board member team, I'm actually a board member for Act Now Education as well. I'm very fortunate to be part of such an awesome group of folks. Been going on a year now that I've been a part of Act Now Education. I love how they decided to do the orientation, because it really helps put into context all the current opportunities that are out there, because we have so many that are available to folks. But then it gives you an opportunity to also understand what those values or what those certifications or what those opportunities truly mean. So attending an orientation might open your eyes to something that you weren't thinking about before. So I'm glad that you were able to underline that and highlight that. And, I want to highlight this too. Like, I think the important thing is, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're looking for a career change, whether you're a veteran, service member looking to get out, don't go at it alone. The Act Now Education community is truly a family of folks out there. We don't ask for anything as far as, VA education, none of that stuff. All this stuff is free. And so with that being said, Sumi, what do you think people out there should know more about Act Now Education?
So although I loved the government job, I wanted to change so bad. And even though I was not hopeful that I could move, like my whole career has been in the service industry, which I appreciate, like working with customers. But even though I brought a lot of value with that knowledge, with working with customers my whole career, sometimes the industry or the corporate world might not appreciate that, or they might not see it as a high value knowledge and experience that you bring. So with taking the certifications, they will add to your already valued experience, and they will help you bridge that gap between where you are now and where you want to be. You already have the knowledge, but just getting certified and improving that knowledge, because we don't know everything, will really bridge the gap for me to transition to this new career. Because I was feeling hopeless. I'm like, okay, are they not going to see my full potential? Like, I already have it. What do I need to do? So this certificate really bridged the gap for me to get into a job I didn't even know was my dream job, with colleagues I didn't know that I could, care about so much. So it really was a bridged a gap for me.
Bridging that gap. That is such a major underlying statement. Really important for people out there to understand, for people to know the value of those certifications in relation to if you have a degree, for example. And on the show in the past, we've talked about project management. We've talked about Scrum. We've talked about many cyber tech certifications out there as well. And before we wrap it up, Sumi, I just wanted to ask you, was there anything that we didn't talk about during this interview that you'd like to mention? Maybe advice for our listeners out there who are coming up behind you, looking to follow your path and get to where you are?
Yes. I think one advice I would give was to practice gratitude. And if you remember at the beginning, I said when I was 11 years old, I got into a prayer mat, prayed for independence, financial stability, and just to be my own person. And everything I prayed for, I have gotten, whether it's career stability, financial stability, family. Everything I prayed for, I've got. And the only thing that's been consistent through all of that is practicing gratitude. Coming from a small country in East Africa and to the United States with this very much a lot of resources and opportunities, being grateful for every small thing, I've noticed people respond positively to it. and they will give you more. So just practice gratitude, and like once you practice gratitude, you'll get more of it. And you could totally do it. You have the knowledge in your head, and you have to have faith in yourself. Because I've noticed that if you don't trust yourself, if you don't have faith in yourself, then how are you expecting other people to do it? And once I start having faith in myself, trusting myself, I was able to do things to advance my career. I'm a very self-motivated person. I work not because, oh, I want this company to be proud of me, but so I can be proud of me. I have the mindset of an entrepreneur. I'm like, okay, if I'm working for this company, I'm like, okay, if this was my company, how would I make it better? So I work for for myself. I work for my future self, for who I want to be. So practicing gratitude and work for yourself, work, because I want to be number one in the supply chain world. So right now I act like I'm number one in the supply chain world. That kind of the behavior, the certification, the knowledge, the network that I have, I carry myself with that role. So just believing in yourself, trusting yourself. You have a lot of knowledge, especially from the military, that is so invaluable to these companies, especially the hard work, our good work ethic, teamwork, leadership. It's very valuable. You just have to translate it, bridge the gap to speak to speak the language of the world that you're getting into. But you could definitely do it. Based on what we went through in the military, once we came to the corporate world or government, it's really easy because we've been through so much in the service that this is child's play. Like, you could do it. You really could. And you'd do the basics and you'd be like an expert because you've done the hardest part, which is serve your country in harsh conditions. So you could totally do it.
That's exactly right. They say only less than 6% ever serve in the United States military out of the entire U.S. population. And there's a reason for that, because most people don't want to overcome the obstacles and don't have the resiliency. So look within yourself and understand where you were at, where you've come from, and the long journey behind you. And don't ever forget who you are. I love your message. I love your message. And I love your self-motivation and your drive, Sumi. I really do. And I think at some point, if you're not doing it now, you should consider reaching back and also volunteering on Veterati, or maybe even becoming a volunteer for Act Now Education, so you can reach back and help others, because you are a very intelligent young lady. And so many folks out there would benefit from having you as either a mentor, a point of contact. And so with that being said, if anyone out there is listening and they'd like to follow up with you on something that you mentioned during this interview, if you're listening to this on audio, on one of our 18 different audio platforms on a podcast, you can scroll down to the description and you'll see all of Sumi's information as far as her social media accounts and her email as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, go down the description. You'll find the same information down there as well. But I understand that you are also on Instagram.
Yes, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn too. LinkedIn, yeah, maybe the official. Let's stick with LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't know what you're doing on TikTok, but yeah. So,
but yes, and then my email is SumeyaGibril@gmail.com. Like you said, it will be in the description box. So if you want to reach me, feel free.
It's awesome. It's been such an honor, Sumi. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to interview and hear your story today.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Listen, everyone out there, I hope you managed to hear her journey and understand that it's important to look further than your own block, look further than your own neighborhood, look further than your own county, and see yourself as doing something greater than, as far as the eye can see. And that's why I love having folks like Sumi on the Morning Formation podcast, because it's all about leveling up here. And if you get a chance, make sure you go to actnoweducation.com, join the Facebook group as well, become part of the community. Right now, I think we're over 50,000 strong. It's all about helping each other out, and it doesn't cost anything at all. Sumi, I appreciate everything today. And for everyone out there, as always, I want you to stay tuned, stay focused, and stay motivated. Warriors, fall out. You've been listening to the Morning Formation Podcast. I hope you found today's materials helpful and of value to your current situation. You can connect with me on Instagram at the_morning_formation_podcast, or you can connect with me via email at theformationpodcaster@gmail.com. Also, I would like to thank my partners at Act Now Education for their support. Authenticity, community, and trusted is what you can expect from all members of the Act Now Education team. You can link up with them today and learn about some new, free educational resources on their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or at their website, actnoweducation.com. Whether today's show took you back to a nostalgic time or helped you think about tomorrow, thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you again. Stay safe and stay motivated. Warriors, fall out.